picks up immediately after the difficult start of the season. The problems introduced earlier: harsh swamp conditions, equipment failures, and financial pressure do not improve. Instead, they begin to compound. The crew, led by Bobby Goodson, enters this episode already behind schedule. This creates an underlying urgency that drives every decision. Unlike a fresh start, they are now working from a deficit, meaning every mistake matters even more. The episode establishes a clear tone early on. This is not about growth or expansion, it is about survival. Early morning strategy, planning with uncertainty. The episode begins with a morning briefing where Bobby outlines the plan for the day. However, the plan feels more like a rough guideline than a fixed strategy. Several uncertainties immediately affect decision-making. Ground conditions remain unstable. Previously used paths may no longer be accessible. Equipment reliability is still questionable. Bobby must decide whether to continue pushing deeper into the swamp or adjust operations to safer, more stable areas. Each option has downsides. Pushing forward risks getting stuck and losing equipment. Playing it safe reduces production output. This dilemma reflects the core tension of the episode, balancing risk with productivity. Entering the work zone, conditions worsen. As the crew moves into the logging site, it becomes clear that conditions have deteriorated further. The ground is wetter than expected, making it harder for machines to maintain traction. Even experienced operators struggle to navigate the terrain. Machines move slowly, and every turn must be carefully calculated. This part of the episode reinforces a key idea. In swamp logging, the environment dictates the pace, not the crew. The crew is forced to adjust immediately. Instead of focusing on speed, they prioritize stability and safety, which further slows production. Logging operations, efficiency versus risk. Tree cutting begins, but progress is noticeably slower than in normal conditions. Cutters must take extra precautions, ensuring trees fall in controlled directions, avoiding unstable ground, maintaining clear escape routes. Each cut takes longer, and this reduced efficiency starts to affect overall productivity. At the same time, the loaders and skidders struggle to keep up. Even when trees are successfully cut, transporting them becomes the next major challenge. Equipment breakdown, a recurring nightmare. Midway through the episode, equipment issues resurface. One of the key machines begins to malfunction, forcing operations to slow down or temporarily stop. This is not a one-time issue, it reflects a broader pattern of wear and tear caused by the harsh environment. The crew attempts to repair the machine on site, but swamp conditions complicate everything. Tools get dirty and difficult to use. Parts are harder to access. Repairs take longer than expected. Bobby faces another tough decision. Wait for proper repairs and lose valuable time, or push the machine to keep working and risk a complete breakdown. This moment highlights the constant trade-offs that define the job. Stuck equipment, a critical setback. One of the most intense moments in the episode occurs when a piece of heavy equipment becomes stuck in deep mud. Initially, the operator tries to free the machine using its own power, but this only makes the situation worse. The deeper it sinks, the harder it becomes to recover. The crew must coordinate a recovery effort, positioning another machine to assist, carefully applying force to avoid damage, monitoring ground stability to prevent additional problems. This process is slow and tense. Every movement carries risk. The situation illustrates how quickly a routine task can turn into a major problem in the swamp. Midday assessment, falling further behind. By midday, it becomes clear that the crew is not meeting their targets. Bobby evaluates the situation. Production is lower than expected. Time has been lost due to equipment issues. Costs continue to accumulate. The pressure intensifies. Falling behind not only affects the current job, but could also impact future contracts and financial stability. This is where the business reality of logging becomes unavoidable. It is not enough to work hard, the numbers must make sense. crew dynamics, stress, and resilience. As the day progresses, the stress begins to show among the crew members. Fatigue sets in due to physically demanding work, constant problem solving, the emotional strain of falling behind. Despite this, the crew remains committed. There is little room for complaints. Everyone understands the importance of the job. At the same time, small moments of humor and camaraderie appear. These moments help maintain morale and prevent the stress from becoming overwhelming. Adapting to challenges, improvisation in action. One of the defining aspects of this episode is how the crew adapts to unexpected challenges. Instead of following a fixed plan, they change routes to avoid unstable areas, adjust techniques for moving logs, modify equipment usage based on conditions. This flexibility is essential for survival in swamp logging. Experience plays a key role here, knowing when to push forward and when to change course. Leadership decisions, risk management. Bobby's role becomes even more critical as the episode progresses. He must constantly assess whether to continue operations in difficult areas, when to stop and avoid further losses, how to allocate resources effectively. These decisions are not easy. Every choice has consequences, and there is no guarantee of success. The episode shows that leadership in this environment is about managing uncertainty rather than eliminating it. End of day outcome: partial progress. By the end of the day, the crew manages to make some progress, but it falls short of expectations. They succeed in recovering stuck equipment, completing some logging tasks, keeping operations running. However, they fail to meet production goals, fully recover lost time, eliminate ongoing issues. The result is a mixed outcome, neither a success nor a complete failure. Themes and analysis. 1. The power of the environment. The swamp remains the dominant force, shaping every aspect of the operation. 2. The cost of delay. Time lost due to equipment issues and difficult conditions has a direct financial impact. 3. Adaptation as survival. The crew's ability to adapt is what allows them to continue working despite setbacks. 4. Leadership under pressure. Bobby's decisions highlight the complexity of managing a high-risk operation. 5. Teamwork as a necessity. The crew's cooperation is essential for overcoming challenges. Conclusion: a fight to stay afloat. Season 4, Episode 2 of Swamp Loggers reinforces the idea that swamp logging is less about efficiency and more about endurance. The crew is not just working, they are constantly reacting, adjusting, and surviving in an environment that resists every effort. There are no easy victories in this episode. Instead, it presents a realistic portrayal of hard work under extreme conditions, where progress is measured in small gains and persistence is the only path forward. Afternoon shift, when the swamp gets worse. After the partial recovery around midday, the crew heads back into full operation, hoping to regain lost productivity, but instead of improving, conditions begin to deteriorate even further. The ground, already unstable, becomes increasingly churned up by repeated machine movements. What was once a difficult path now turns into deep, sticky mud. Every pass of heavy equipment makes the terrain worse, not better. This creates a vicious cycle. Machines tear up the ground becomes harder to navigate, slower movement leads to more passes, which further damages the terrain. By this point, the swamp isn't just an obstacle, it's actively resisting the crew's efforts. Log extraction. Slow and risky. As logs are prepared for transport, the extraction process becomes painfully slow. Skidder operators must carefully choose routes that won't collapse under weight, avoid previously damaged areas, maintain momentum without losing control. One wrong move can cause a machine to sink, logs to become stuck, or pathways to become unusable. There's a noticeable shift in behavior. Earlier in the episode, operators were still trying to maintain speed. Now they prioritize caution above everything else. This slows production even more, but it's necessary. At this stage, avoiding disaster becomes more important than increasing output. Communication breakdown, small errors, bigger consequences. As fatigue builds, communication between crew members becomes less precise. Instructions that would normally be clear start to get rushed or misunderstood. This leads to small inefficiencies. Machines waiting longer than necessary, logs being moved in less optimal sequences. Operators having to reposition multiple times, individually. These issues seem minor, but together they compound into significant delays. This part of the episode subtly highlights how critical communication is in high-risk environments. It's not just about skill, it's about coordination. Another mechanical scare. Just as the crew begins to stabilize their workflow, another mechanical issue emerges. This time, it's not a full breakdown, but a warning sign. The machine starts behaving unpredictably, strange noises, reduced power, inconsistent performance. This creates a dilemma. Stop immediately and inspect the issue, or keep going and risk a more serious failure. Bobby and the operator briefly discuss the situation. You can feel the tension, every minute counts, but pushing too far could cost them hours later. They decide to keep going cautiously, monitoring the machine closely. This decision perfectly captures the mindset of the entire episode. Calculated risk is unavoidable. The psychological toll, frustration, sets in. By late afternoon, the mental strain becomes more visible. The crew is tired, behind schedule, dealing with repeated setbacks. Frustration starts